Begin with chapter number 12 from your history book of grade 9, and the name of the chapter is the Reformation. Meaning of Reformation: a religious movement launched in the 19th century against the monopoly and authority of the church is called the Reformation movement. This was totally against the corrupt and the evil practices done by the church. First is, what are the causes of Reformation? The Renaissance or the new learning. The Renaissance installed, or you can say gave, the spirit age of inquiry, development, critical attitude of mind, and broadened the mental outlook of people. While it encouraged original and independent thinking on scientific lines, the people now began to question the authority of the Pope, and criticize the corrupt practices and rituals and the immoral life of the clergymen. So many devoted Christians began to study Bible themselves, as it was now translated into their own languages. They now questioned the authority of the Pope as a means of salvation. They were simply shocked at the ignorance and superstitions of the clergymen. The learned people raised a strong voice against the abuses that had penetrated into the church. Number two, heavy financial burden of the church. Now, besides applying taxes, the popes began to adopt other means to collect funds, and so the burden fell upon the peasants, laborers, and the middle class people. They all began to oppose the church because of its heavy financial burden. Next, number three is interest of the church in political matter. The Pope considered himself to be the representative of God on earth, he considered the king as his subject and claimed the authority to throne and to dethrone them. So the popes began to interfere in the internal affairs of different states. They assumed the role which was not religious in nature. Their interference in the political affairs are naturally strongly opposed by the kings, and they became anti-pope. Number three, a development of nationalistic feeling. The development of nationalistic feeling and the rise of national states was one of the major factors which contributed the Reformation movement in the 16th century. Rulers of many European countries such as England, Germany, etc., and many of their subjects now began to regard Pope as a foreigner. Their objective to an international church. They wanted the church free from the control of this foreign pope. Number 5, evil practices in the church. Now, clergy officers, as the pope and the clergymen became ambitious, they began to lead a luxurious life. Many abuses and evil practices grew in church. So clergy officers were no longer given to the deserving men, but were sold for money. This evil was known as simony. According to the corrupt practices of plurality, the clergymen could hold more than one church. They behaved like feudal lords and exploited the masses. A clergyman of any state was required to pay his first year's income to the Pope as the first fruit, and the Pope sold various kinds of pardon certificates such as indulgences. Okay, so these were the different kinds of certificates they were selling for what? To save the people from sins, crimes, and fire to hell. Again, the clergymen did not keep the vow of poverty and services to the mankind. Immediate cause. What was the immediate cause? Long before the open branch of the Rome, there had been only some cases of protest against the religious doctrineship. But we will find that Martin Luther, who revolted against the sale of this kind of certificates, the indulgences, is raised a strong voice and launched a severe movement against the abuse of the church and the authority of the Pope. This proved that the immediate cause of the Reformation. Next, what is Martin Luther's contribution? First is the role of the Martin Luther or the Reformation in Germany. The credit of starting this Reformation in Germany goes to Martin Luther in 1512 CE. He went to Rome for pilgrimage. He was stunned, means shocked, to see that the Pope had sunk to the level of an Italian prince and led a very luxurious life. The corrupt practices of the church was immoral, and immoral life to the clergyman brought a great change in his ideas, and he became a strong opponent of the Pope. So struggle with the Pope. First, the people were made to believe that if they bought the certificates, indulgences, by paying heavy amount to the church, they would be absolved of their sins and save them from the fire of hell. Luther, on the other hand, thought that the indulgences, that is, the certificates, were wrong, and if men are sorry for their sins and have faith in God, he will forgive them. Luther wrote down his objections against the sale of this kind of certificates in Latin in the form of 95 statements known as the 95 Theses, and nailed them on the door of church at Wittenberg and challenged the scholars to have a debate with them. In this thesis, Luther laid great stress on faith and strongness, strongly opposed the sale and purchase of this kind of indulgences as a meaning of salvation. So in 1519 CE, he also defeated, means Luther defeated a priest sent by Pope in a debate. The new teachings of Luther endangered the authority. He endangered the authority of the Pope Leo X. So he excommunicated him. But Luther burned the bill and remarked that because thou dost trouble the Holy One of the Lord, may eternal fire consume thee. Next, what kind of impact are we finding? Or we can say, okay, there's one more point left out. Yes, Scamel, Chaldic League, and the Protestant Church. In 1530 CE, the Holy Roman Emperor threatened the followers of Luther to come back to the fold of the Roman Catholic Church, or they would be forced to do so. So Luther and some of his German princes accepted the challenge and formed a league known as the Scamel Chaldic League to face the emperor. The evil war or struggle between the two continued until they concluded the Peace of Augsburg in 1555 CE, 9 years after the death of Luther. But by this, Lutheranism was recognized as another form of Christianity, and the ruler of each state in Germany was given the right to determine whether his state was to be a Roman Catholic or a Lutheran. Next, so from here we can understand that the Lutheran are called the Protestants, right, and the Roman Catholics are the Catholic group. So Christianity is also having two sects from this part. Impact of the Reformation leading to Counter-Reformation. As the Reformation movement started, in the counterpart we are finding that the Counter-Reformation movement was also started by the Catholics. Okay, the Counter-Reformation movement was a direct result of the Reformation. Keeping in the view of the rapid progress of the Protestantism, the Catholics started the Counter-Reformation movement to address the popularity of Protestantism, to reform the Catholic Church by weeding out corruption and abuses, to bring back the lost sheep to its fold, and to save it from extinction. Next, we are having schism with the church. Schismism. Okay, Reformation led to the schism with the church, as it broke the unity of the Christendom And here we are finding that there were two groups broke into the Christian church, or you can say the Christianity broke into two groups, Protestants and the Catholics. These two main groups further broke up into many sects. Next, we are having the civil wars. Civil wars. With the passage of time, both the Reformation and the Catholic Reformation movement became aggressive. A wave of fascinatism seized both the Protestants and the Catholics. The result was the long and bloody civil war and revolts in many countries, especially in France, Germany, and Switzerland, among the supporters of these two sects. They caused great loss of life and property, hampered all around progress, and halted the march of the civilization and culture. Rise of nation states. Reformation and proved fatal in the influence, authority, power, and prestige of papacy because it exposed the weaknesses and abused the church. On the other hand, it promoted the spirit of nationalism and strengthened absolute monarchs. As the Act of Supremacy in England and Peace of Augsburg in Germany led to the establishment of national churches and later on to the national state. So, Russia, France, Australia, etc., rose as a strong nation state. Number 5, rise of mercantilism. Merchant. From there, we are getting mercantilism. Reformation was led to the commercialization or so-called mercantilism. It was the dominant school of thought in Europe throughout the later Renaissance and early modern period. During this period, yet every country tried to maintain a balance of trade in their own favor by buying less or by selling more or less. Okay, next we're having number 6 is religious wars among European countries. Reformation led to many religious wars among European countries. King Philip II of Spain and was a strong supporter of the Catholic Church. He was determined to conquer England and put an end to Elizabeth and Protestantism. He sent a strong fleet to the warships known as the Invincible Armada against England in 1588 CE, and many more such kind of reform movements took place. Okay, when the Protestants of Bohemia rebelled against the Holy Roman Emperor, the rulers of Sweden and Denmark held the Protestants. Later, the Catholic France and also joined the fray. This war was known as the 30 Years' War, which came to an end by the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 CE. Protestantism was also recognized as another branch of Christianity. Thank you.